So right before I hit the record button on this video, a question popped into my head that now I have to ask y'all. I have an obligation now. It was in my brain. How many of y'all actually know how to swim? Put it in the comment section. And then put the reasoning why if you don't know how to swim. What's the reason behind? Is it just simply you just never took the time to learn? Nobody would ever teach you. You have a fear of the water. You have a fear of drowning. Anything. What's your reasoning behind never learning how to swim? And also, do you have a want to learn? Maybe you have kids now and you think about one day if something happens, you need to be prepared to jump in and save someone. So put all that in the comment section. It just popped into my head when I looked at the title of this video. But anyway, title of this video is Places You Should Never Swim. Never swim. All right? So smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and join the family if you're new. Let's check this out.
As temperatures start to climb, there's no better way to cool down than to take a dip in the pool. But be careful, because not all bodies of water are made for swimming. Some of these lakes, rivers, and pools may look inviting, but taking a dip in them might be the last thing you ever do. From pretty pools that are actually brimming with acid, to flooded holes that are impossible to escape. Let's dive into some swimming spots you should approach with caution, and others you shouldn't approach at all. Bleach bath. What do you know about Tanzania? That it's in Africa? That it's home to some amazing wildlife? That it has a 490 square mile body of water which can turn living things to stone? Wait, what was that last one? That sounds like something out of a fairy tale, but believe me, it's real. This is Lake Natron, located in part of Tanzania that's so hot it loses most of its water to evaporation. This leaves salty, mineral-rich remnants to crust over the lake bed, with salt-loving microorganisms that sport a deep red pigment thriving on what the water leaves behind. However, the water that does remain is so saturated with salt that migratory birds who stop for a refreshing bath suddenly find themselves coated in salt crystals. Once they calcify, these salty layers trap the poor creatures in a matter of minutes, mummifying them alive. Okay, not exactly stone, but close enough. Though that's not even the worst part. The sodium and mineral-rich bedrock makes Lake Natron's environment strongly alkaline, meaning the water here has a pH of 10 on an average day, and a pH of 12 when the waters reach a scalding 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So at its worst, taking a dip in this lake would be like swimming through hot bleach, leaving you with serious alkaline burns. This is something a group of wildlife photographers horrifyingly experienced firsthand back in 2007. As they were flying over the lake, their helicopter pilot became disoriented and crashed. The chemicals in the water immediately began irritating their eyes, practically blinding them while slowly burning their skin. But
See, we're so quick to go on excursions because we believe the people that we're going on these excursions and different things with know what they're doing. We don't know their credibility. We don't know their background. We don't know the extent of how much information they've learned to be able to call themselves an expert at what they're doing right now. And we just willingly go. I've done it too. That's why I say we. I gotta do better at this, bro. But imagine being there. He should have known better than to fly a helicopter over that there could be a potential that the helicopter would stall out and crash. This type of stuff, man.
Miraculously, they managed to brave the pain and scramble 2 miles across the shallow waters to the nearest solid ground. Luckily, they all made a full recovery. But if they had crashed much further out, or if it had been an even hotter day, this could have ended fatally. Narrow escape. In the hot Texas summertime, kids near Wimberley love nothing more than playing in a local creek, one which leads to a spring called Jacob's Well. Springs like this are usually small, and can present a fun photo opportunity like this if they're just the right depth. but the 12-foot diameter mouth of this spring looks weirdly huge, like it's been punched into the bedrock. And with a 30-foot plunge straight down, it seems like a perfect place to practice a cannonball, or 6. But something dark lurks at the bottom of the well, something that's claimed the lives of many people who have dived down too far. Not a monster, thank God, at least as far as we know. You see, Jacob's Well is a karstic spring that's part of an underwater cave system. Past the 30-foot main chamber, the cavern continues down to a series of tunnels and chambers, separated by narrow shafts.
I can already see how you can get disoriented and think this is the way out, when actually you need to go back up here. Could you imagine that?
That is, until it reaches an average depth of 120 feet, with adjoining caves and tunnels stretching out more than 4,500 feet. And that's just the caves that have been explored. This intricate system is something that's attracted cave divers and free divers from all over the world, and herein lies the main danger of swimming in Jacob's Well. Some of the entrances to other tunnels are so narrow, divers have to remove their oxygen tanks to squeeze through them. All it takes is one fumble, and their oxygen tanks could be lost to the dark, cavernous stretches below.
Why would you even do that? Why would you even do that, bro? It's not that serious. For you to take off your lifeline to where you could potentially drop it? No.
Okay, deep breath. What watery nightmare have we got next? The underwater labyrinth. Tell me something. How many times have you dived into a pool, started swimming, and then gotten lost? Not a regular occurrence, I'd hope, but for those brave enough to step foot in the Eagle's Nest sinkhole, it's a very real possibility. Located on the Floridian coast, the Eagle's Nest is a flooded sinkhole that, at a glance, looks like a secret pool hidden perfectly from the rest of the world. Sometimes its waters are completely clear, other times it's practically black, dyed by naturally occurring pigments called tannins from the surrounding vegetation. But no matter what the water looks like on the surface, once you head under, the danger is turned up to 11. Because this is just the entrance to a huge network of caves and tunnels submerged beneath, some as deep as 310 feet, stretching out more than a mile, all in pitch black. It's a popular spot with cave divers who take some sort of psychopathic joy in the idea of traveling underground, underwater, while practically blind. What's more, because some either incredibly brave or utterly deranged part of them wants to push the boundaries of exploration, they try to map previously uncharted caves and tunnels.
Now, when I was in the fire service, right, one of the things they used to teach us, if we get inside a burning building, it's dark, it's black, smoke, you can't see, you do something what we would call a right hand or left hand wall search, right? That's how we would search for victims and stuff like that when you couldn't see, or not search for victims, try to get out. You know what I'm saying? That was one of the training methods to get out. Right hand, left hand. If you go inside of a room and you do a right hand wall search, you stay on that, that'll bring you all the way back around to the exit of that room, right? That's how you would clear a room when searching for a victim, right? I'm sitting here looking at this and I'm like, how could I even do a left hand or a right hand to get out of there? You know what I'm saying? And they always taught us, once you start on the right hand, you stay on that right hand, because if you go in a room and you start on the right hand, it's going to bring you all the way around and out. If you switch up, you'll get disoriented and stuff like that. So I'm looking at this and I'm like, how could I ever do that? How? I can't even figure it out. No.
The issue is,
so it would be real easy to get disoriented down there.
It's easy to get turned around and lost in here, especially in the pitch black when all the rocks around you look the same in the torchlight. As such, some over-ambitious divers and swimmers have become so lost, they never made it back to the surface. Since 1981, at least 13 divers have succumbed to this utterly horrifying fate. It's gotten so bad that signs like this one have been installed in the cave to try and dissuade overeager swimmers from swimming farther on and getting lost.
This says, stop, prevent your death, go no further. More than 300 divers, including open water scuba instructors, have died in caves just like this one. Fact, you need training to dive, you need cave training and cave equipment to cave dive. Fact, without cave training and cave equipment, divers can die here. Fact, it can happen to you. There's nothing in this cave worth dying for. Do not go beyond this point. I think they need to stress a little more. There is nothing in this cave worth dying for.
Well, no need to dissuade me, Florida, because luckily for you, I am a massive coward. Black and Blue. Over in the UK, another deceptively beautiful looking lake can be found in a pit dug into the Derbyshire countryside. These are the beautiful blue waters of the aptly named Blue Lagoon, or they used to be. In 2013 and then again in 2020, the local council dyed the waters black to try and dissuade eager locals from taking a dive in it. But why? Well, despite the lagoon part of its name, it's actually situated in an old limestone quarry, which after it was disused in 1952, was eventually left to gather rainwater. Because the surrounding limestone rocks leached calcite crystals into the waters gradually became that inviting turquoise color, but also gave the lagoon a strong alkaline pH of 11.3. Considering ammonia has a pH of 11.5 and bleach is about 12, swimming is the last thing you want to do in these waters. At that strength, the water causes skin irritation, stomach problems, and even chemical burns. But this wasn't enough to stop people from taking a dip, especially during lockdown. Despite mounds of trash in the water, dead animals, and an impossible-to-miss warning sign, people can still be found risking a paddle in this pit. I mean,
what is wrong with us? What is wrong with us?
I know public pools don't have the best reputation, but swimming in bleach surrounded by garbage doesn't exactly seem like an upgrade.
No.
Yellowstone's secret weapon. Now, not all deadly bodies of water are just one color, as proven by the Grand Prismatic Spring of Yellowstone Park. Located in the Midway Geyser Basin, this is the third largest natural hot spring in the entire world, measuring in at 370 feet in diameter. That means, from end to end, it's more than double the length of an Olympic swimming pool. The bedrock sports huge concentric circles of vibrant blues, greens, yellows, and oranges, making it look like a magic portal rather than a pool. But these aren't magic. They're down to the geothermally heated water that erupts from the center of the spring, which can reach a near boiling 189 degrees Fahrenheit. When this water spreads out, it cools, allowing rings of different bacteria that thrive at different temperatures to develop, ranging from 131 to 189 degrees Fahrenheit. That's still seriously hot, like third-degree burns hot, though burns are the least of your worries in this area. Back in 2016, a tourist was visiting the Yellowstone Springs when he and his sister, despite all the warning signs, decided to go hiking into a restricted area. They planned to take a dip in a hot pool away from the prying public eyes, but as he was checking the temperature of the hot water, he accidentally slipped and fell. He scrambled desperately but couldn't get out. His sister tried to pull him out, but with the waters reaching a scalding 199 degrees Fahrenheit, she suffered serious burns and couldn't help. Because they deviated from the path, help arrived far too late. A thunderstorm called off on attempts to retrieve his remains, and they made plans to return the next day. But because the water in this area is also slightly acidic, combined with the intense heat,
no remains.
When they returned the next day, his body had dissolved. Ugh. Yeah, think I'll just stick to the regular hot tub, thanks. Hot and high. So, we've established that going off route and trying to take a dip in naturally hot pools of water, it definitely isn't a good idea. But I get a feeling that message hasn't reached every risk-taking skinny dipper out there. So we're going to look at another, more extreme example of a spring that could literally kill you if you decided to step foot in it. For this, we need to head over to Iceland, a nation famous for its volcanically active landscape and geothermally heated water sources. It's here we find a pretty small, innocuous-looking pool located beside the Hvita River. It's all very serene, but around every 10 minutes, something disturbs the peace. Whoa, this ain't no ordinary pool. It's actually
No.
the Strokkur geyser, one of the most active fountain-type geysers in the world. Geysers like this are made from flooded systems of tube-like holes and linked chambers that run deep into the Earth's crust. Magma then heats the water at the closest end of the tube until it begins to boil, and as it does, it rises up into the chamber, where it begins to steam and turn into gas. This gas then shoots towards the surface, forcing the water around it to jet out at incredible speed. Now, as fun as it might look to dive in and shoot up on nature's own slingshot ride, it ain't all fun and games. The power of the steam forces the water out to heights of up to 130 feet, meaning it has the power to launch something within it around the height of a 10-story building. On top of that, the water in this geyser can reach a spicy 464 degrees Fahrenheit. So making the dumb decision to jump in here would leave you with two options: boil to death or fall to your death.
But you know, they got to tell us that because somebody, some person thought it was a good idea to dive in there. Somebody did.
I mean, the third option is to stay well away from it, but I'll leave that decision up to you. Whirlpool worry. If there are any anime fans out there, this next twisted body of water is definitely for you. Over in Japan, the Naruto Strait is a channel between Naruto in Tokushima and Awaji Island in Hyogo. It may be less than a mile long, but it connects the Pacific Ocean to the inland sea. And when the tides rise and fall twice a day, something amazing happens. Because such a huge amount of water is pushed in or dragged out of this area, the tide creates a water level difference of up to 5 feet between the two seas. And because the strait is so narrow, the water rushing through here at up to 12 miles per hour creates a series of massive whirlpools, circling some 66 feet in diameter. These are the Naruto whirlpools. They directly inspired the name for Naruto Maki, a spiral-styled fish cake, which in turn inspired the name for Naruto Uzumaki, one of the most popular anime characters out there, whose name literally translates to Naruto Spiral. Told you the anime nerds would like this one. While the whirlpools themselves aren't strong enough to be dangerous to boats, lone swimmers are cautioned to avoid the straits, as they can be quickly overpowered by the currents. Case in point, back in 2014, a daredevil underwater photographer intent on capturing footage of a comparatively small whirlpool in Cornwall, UK, didn't make it back to the surface. Though it appeared small, the current creating it had the power to drag the photographer under and hold him there, which, without any breathing apparatus, proved fatal. So to all the ninja anime fans out there, unless you've mastered the walk-on-water technique, I'd suggest using a boat.
See, this is one thing I used to think about on like cruises. You ever be on a cruise and you just on the, what is it, the little, or let's just say you're on your balcony from your room and you're staring out into the water. I was doing that one day, man, and I was like, yo, what if a massive whirlpool? Like, how do we deal with that? That's not something I wanted to think about. It was just something that popped into my head. You know what I mean? You have a couple of them drinks, you start thinking about all kind of crazy things, man. But I just sitting there looking at it, looking at the water, after I got past like the whole peaceful, this is peaceful, serene and everything, of course, a negative thought had to pop into my head and was like, what if a whirlpool started? can it take this big boat? You know what I mean? And I was like, well, depending on the size. Like, I had a whole conversation with myself. It was terrible.
Risky reservoirs. Open swimming in wild waters can seem like a great idea on a hot day, but if you decide to go paddling in a reservoir, you'll have more to worry about than forgetting your sunscreen. Natural lakes and man-made reservoirs can look very similar, though reservoirs are generally built for flood control, and as such they have a few built-in elements that make them incredibly dangerous. Take Lake Berryessa in California, for example, which is held up by the mighty 304-foot-tall Monticello Dam. The reservoir stretches back more than 15.5 miles, and when full, can be up to 275 feet deep. If heavy rain threatens to exceed this level and spill over the dam though, Berryessa's secret weapon gets to work. This is an open-mouth spillway more than 72 feet in diameter, which is locally known as the Glory Hole. Seriously, California? Seriously? Well, the Glory Hole channels water down a 200-foot drop to the base of the dam, where the diameter shrinks down to about 28 feet wide. With this design, the spillway can drain a maximum of 48,000 cubic feet of water, roughly 359,000 gallons per second. That's a little under half the water in an entire Olympic swimming pool, meaning it generates one heck of a current when it's in use. But despite warnings, and even a cordoned-off section, it's not enough to stop swimmers from trying their luck. Back in 1997, after heavy rains, a woman decided to try and test her mettle by ignoring all the warnings and swimming close to the glory hole. No match for the current, she was quickly dragged into the mouth. Realizing her mistake, she clawed at the edge and managed to hold on. But the glory hole is located miles from the nearest help, so after 20 minutes, she lost her grip and was dragged down. Yeah, there ain't no surviving an event like that. But despite the severity of stories like this, they're not enough to dissuade some people, like these two anglers at Lady Bower Reservoir in the UK, who seem to have a death wish. Unlike Berryessa, Lady Bower has not one, but two bellmouth spillways affectionately nicknamed plug holes. Each one is 78 feet in diameter with a 66-foot drop channel that deposits water into the river on the other side of the dam through a grill. They may not have the same drop length as Berryessa.
Now, I know somebody sitting there seeing that and it's like, well, 60 feet to the other end, maybe I could hold my breath going in there. No. Don't even think like that. Don't even put yourself in that type of position to where you would have to try to do that. No. I don't understand people, man. Some people, you gotta save them from themselves. Literally.
But with those staggered stone steps, I'd argue that being dragged down into this watery maw would hurt a heck of a lot more. The firm that manages the reservoir allows people to fish, boat, and swim on it, but advises everyone to steer clear of the spillways, a memo both those idiotic anglers missed, apparently. Luckily, no fatalities have been recorded regarding either of the plug holes so far. I, for one, vote we keep it that way by not swimming in bodies of water that have giant holes in them. Big hole. Now, with a lot of these lakes, it can be hard to tell at first glance what exactly makes them dangerous. But you don't have that problem with South Africa's aptly named Big Hole. Once known as the Kimberley Mine, it used to be an open-pit diamond mine. When work started here back in 1871, digging progressed until the pit itself was more than 1,500 feet wide and 790 feet deep, meaning it was 4/5 as deep as the Chrysler Building is tall. As it got deeper, the only way miners could get in and out was by a series of death-defying aerial trams which led down to the workable surface of the mine. But by 1914, after 22 million tons of rock had been excavated along with more than 3 tons of diamonds, work on the mine ceased. The water pumps installed at the bottom to keep the hole from flooding were removed, and the water naturally filled up to the waterline. Part of the hole was filled in, leaving the final depth of it today at some 705 feet deep, where 134 feet of water sit at the bottom of the big hole. Surrounded by a sheer rock face, the walls are practically impossible to scale, as one unlucky dog found out in 2013. The poor pooch had accidentally fallen into the hole and for several days swam desperately from one side to another, hoping to find a way out amidst the sheer rock faces. Eventually, passers-by spotted him before throwing down some food and alerting emergency services, but the workers were hesitant to help. The walls of the mine are incredibly unstable, and they didn't have ropes long enough to lower someone in. They made multiple unsuccessful attempts to get the dog out, but it wasn't until the 8th day, when a team of 7 people were sent down into the pit with a rope and pulley systems in place, that they were eventually able to hoist the dog out. So unless you're very good at treading water...
The fact that he was able to survive and tread water that long is just like a miracle, bro. Like, to swim back and forth, tread water, try to hold on, like, that's a long time. Have you ever tried to tread water or swim constantly for a long time? Ain't easy.
Water and then climbing up a partially sheer rock face for 570 feet without any help. I wouldn't recommend diving into that death trap. Life's a beach. Whoa, would you just look at this place? Bright blue waters, golden sands, blue skies. It's a textbook perfect beach. Ideal for swimming, right? But wait, why are people paddling in that tiny pool and not over enjoying the ocean? Because they're smart, that's why. You see, this is Hanakapii Beach, located on the Hawaiian island of Kauai. For all its scenic surroundings, this is one of the deadliest beaches in the world, with many people speculating.
And it don't even look like it. I'm looking at the water right now like, dang, that's some of the most beautiful water ever. Then just to hear him say, it's one of the most deadliest beaches ever. How can it be?
Related to be close to 100, having been swept out to sea over the years, never to return. Makeshift signs warn of this danger, but tourists still don't listen. After all, it doesn't look all that dangerous at first. But unlike most beaches along the Kauai's coast, there's no major barrier reef before it, so there's nothing stopping the strong ocean currents from breaking along the ledge of the beach with their full force, rolling onto it and dragging unsuspecting tourists out into the blue. Plus, there are no lifeguards here, so if you're swept out to sea, you're out there on your own. Remind me never to take my water wings off ever again. Colorful caution. A lot of open bodies of water look enticing thanks to their incredible coloring, though they're not always shades of blue. Lake Hillier in Australia, for example, is famous for its bright pink waters. Found right on the coast of the country's middle island, the 2,000-foot-long lake is separated from the ocean by a thin strip of land, and looks so vividly pink that it almost seems fake. The super salty water gets this hue from a mixture of red-colored bacterium and algae that reside in it. Both contain red carotenoids, pigments that help protect them from extreme environments, such as the high amount of salt. But for all the high salt content, the waters aren't dangerous unless ingested in large quantities. So it's an influencer's pink-colored paradise. Let's just hope they don't try and drink it for the likes. Over on the other side of the world, there's another colorful lake I'm pretty sure plenty of influencers would love to get a picture of them swimming in. From a glance, it looks like those waters are made from liquid emeralds. But before any influencers start planning which filter they're going to use, this isn't a lake you can use for a photo shoot. For a start, it's located in the crater of an active volcano in Mexico known as El Chichon. Following its catastrophic eruption in 1982, the crater of the volcano today is some 420 feet deep, though the depth of the lake itself varies. A series of superheated springs channel groundwater from the crater floor to the lake, but these waters aren't just dangerous because they're hot. Dissolved into them are deadly volcanic gases from the magma beneath. such as sulfur dioxide, hydrogen sulfide, hydrogen chloride, and hydrogen fluoride.
Yeah, that's a death bath. That's exactly what that's a death bath.
These don't just give the lake its glowing green color, they also turn the water acidic, like very acidic. After the eruption in 1982, the lake that formed in the crater the year following had a pH of 0.5. For perspective, that's the same as battery acid, but the sulfuric components make it even more deadly. So if an Insta background is what you're looking for, I'd search elsewhere, unless you want your followers to watch your hospital recovery story. Big Pit. If you were to visit Butte City in Montana, you'd notice that it looks like any other typical American city. That is until you spot the mile-long, half-mile-wide pit lurking at the edge of it. At roughly 1,780 feet deep, filled with a reddish-brown liquid that can only be described as ominous, this is the Berkeley Pit. It was an open-pit copper mine, dug out back in the 1950s, but it was closed just 30 years later in 1982 after its profitability hit rock bottom. They shut off the pumps, keeping the groundwater at bay, and the pit was left to flood. However, the water that filled it up had leached chemicals and metals from the surrounding rock, like arsenic, cadmium, zinc, and sulfuric acid, which gave it that worrying color. Though that's not all. A while later, in 1995, a migrating flock of 342 snow geese flew down and rested in the lake to avoid a squall. But little did they know, the lake had a pH of 2.5, meaning it was acidic. While it was only about as acidic as lemon juice, the poor birds were all found lifeless the next day, completely covered in burn sores. The shocking
Straight massacred them. Oh.
incident spurred Montana to treat the water in the pit, but it's still incredibly toxic. So much so that the Berkeley Pit Waterfowl Protection Program has been established to deter any birds from resting there. And
Good.
you know what they say, if birds won't take to the water, then neither should you. Okay, literally no one has ever said that, but the message is still the same. Don't go swimming in the big toxic pit. Well,
Yeah, listen, man. And I know a lot of these things are where some of y'all live at, bro, but it's not worth it. It's not worth it. That thrill you could find doing something else. I promise you, man. It's not worth it, bro. Please, please never swim in these places or any places similar to these. All right? Y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know what you think, man. Stick around and stay tuned. I'm gone. Peace.